Hey, what's going on, guys? Waff here, bringing you a guide to duo demonic gorillas, which is actually a really cool method that me and Dave have kind of figured out. And obviously, we didn't create the method, but it is definitely something that we've been testing for about 12 hours, and it's actually really good. So I figured I'd make a quick little guide about it and kind of show you guys kind of the ins and outs of the guide. Just starting off right away, the requirements for this are actually relatively low, especially compared to solo demonic gorillas, which is one of the main advantages of the method, I guess. All you need is Monkey Madness 2. I would say at least, like, the minimum would be 70 plus melee stats and range stats. I would highly recommend having at least 80, 85, somewhere in that ballpark, just to be able to kill them relatively fast. But either way, the overall requirements are pretty low compared to actually soloing them, because it's really not too intense on the stats, because you do have two people. The full Guthans is going to be required for the tank, and that's basically a requirement, not a recommended thing, just in order to stay there for an extremely long time, which is the purpose of this method, is to be able to stay there for multiple hour-long trips and just camp for Zenites for a very long time in a relaxing fashion. So full Guthans is definitely recommended for the tank, and full Darok is definitely recommended for the attacker as well. And other than that, you just need a blowpipe, or potentially, we didn't try it with a rune crossbow, but it should be able to work fine. And you really don't use range too much. Like, the range form kind of goes down really slow if you guys are familiar with gorillas. But yeah, overall, I think generally the main thing is full Guthans for the tank, which is obviously more expensive, and full Darok for the attacker. And that's really about it. You don't need, Tassies, you don't need anything like that. It's just, those are generally the only requirements in order to use this method. So yeah, I'll actually go ahead and hop in and show you guys the gear setups for both of the setups right now. So here is your first setup. This is just a basic setup, and it's kind of actually welfare, to be completely honest. So this is kind of the baseline for what you're going to be wanting. I have a D-hide top and a blowpipe. You just want to have top and weapon switch is really all that you need. You're switching a lot, so you kind of want to just have really basic switches. 3 super combat, 3 ranging potions. These you will not personally be using. You're pretty much just muling these for the tank. The tank will be using pot share. Some super restores and sharks. You guys can kind of work this out. The amount. This is the kind of the amount that we found is pretty good, because you do take a lot of damage while you're waiting to like wait out the aggro. Rock cake for obviously rock kicking down for your Darok set once you lose aggro. Teleport, and also in your rune pouch you want to have high alch runes, and I leave a space open just for the death runes and law runes that they drop. Obviously be on regular magics. I'm not, but yeah, I'm not actually going on a trip right now. Then your inventory, or your actual gear setup, is going to be a ranging cape and or Avis accumulator if you have it. You just want to have 2 switches, like I said, and pretty much full Darok, Fury, something like that, Glory even works, and Dragon Boots, Berserker Ring. Obviously you want to have that imbued. So yep, this is the Darok setup. Pretty simple. This is actually a really cheap setup. It's probably about 6 mil, something like that, and it works very well. So for the rest of the video, I will be showing you from the tank setup. It's pretty much the same thing, just full Guthans and slightly more things, and also pot share runes. Now, pretty much you can just watch in the background kind of how the method goes. I'm assuming that if you're watching this guide, you do understand how gorillas work. I will kind of just give you the overall basics. Basically, demonic gorillas, they protect melee and protect. They pretty much can protect from all 3 styles, and during those styles, they cannot be hit whatsoever. Once you do 50 damage through their prayer, then they will switch to whatever style last hit them. So if they're praying range and your Daroker hits a 90 on it, then pretty much that's 40 free damage, because they only switch every 50 hits, or 50 HP. So generally, once you do that amount of damage, then you switch to range. Once you do another 50 damage, they switch back to melee. And at the same time, they are also changing their attack styles on you. They shoot a green ball at you, and that is mage, which is the most deadly. You definitely want to, whenever you don't know what style they're doing, you want to be praying mage and pretty much avoiding all of that damage. They also throw a rock at you, which is their range attack, which is also generally pretty inaccurate, and just their regular melee attack, where they just hit you with their claws. And they switch these every time that they hit 3 zeros in a row on your prayer. Not just 3 zeros in a row in general, but 3 zeros that you are actually blocking. So, you pretty much have to just kind of predict. If you really want to and you want to try hard, or you're low on health, if you are in melee range, or if you're at a distance and they start to walk towards you, then you know that they're doing melee and etc. But generally, when you're using full Guthans, you don't really have to predict that. It's just, you're basically healing through most of it. You can even go kills where you just pretty much pray mage and AFK if you really want to. So that's the purpose for the full Guthans, is because the Daroker is hitting so high and so often. Like I said, they pretty much just hit it once and they switch styles. So You really only get one or two damage stacks on at most of the time, so having full Guthans is perfectly fine. One thing to note is that you can also actually heal through the Protect melee, so if you are like really low health and in a pinch you need to heal, you can definitely use your full Guthans even if they are praying melee. And SGS would also be a pretty good option for the tank to bring if you do have it. I actually didn't have enough money to buy an SGS, which kind of shows you how welfare this setup actually is, which is pretty cool. So the general method is just the one person tanks the gorillas, and the other person Daroks it. That's really all there is to it. The only really generally hard part about this is tanking the aggro. As you can see right now on your screen, we pretty much are just like carefully killing these ones. You just want to lure it so that there's only one on you at a time, and it's kind of just practice. You just got to know how the game kind of works. You want to stay around this general like waterfall area. Pretty much you don't want to go anywhere near the two little tunnels that are on the sides, because if you do that you will reset your aggro, and that's really annoying because then you kind of, this is like the slowest part of the trip. As you can see, it kind of takes a while to do stuff, so you definitely want to try to keep the aggro off of you and turn your auto retaliate on, like don't be a dingus. But yeah, that's pretty much all that there is to it. Obviously once the aggro wears off, you want to rock kick down if you are the Daroker, and yeah, that's really all there is to it. So here I'm showing a little bit more footage in the background while I kind of talk to you about the advantages of this method. As you can see, we are further into the trip, and we've lost aggro, so pretty much if you guys can see the tunnels that I'm talking about, pretty much you don't want to go into any of those like tunnel areas, because it will reset the aggro. Pretty much these two gorillas that we keep hopping back and forth between, you kind of just want to make sure that they're in this area. Better safe than sorry, because if you do reset the aggro, it's really annoying. So pretty much just kill these two gorillas that we keep hopping back and forth between, which is why I say bringing Guthans again is just not really, you don't really need to bring any better weapons, because you pretty much kill them as fast as they can spawn when you're using full Darok. So pretty much just this gear is like the highest gear that you actually are required. So that's probably the first like actual advantage of this method, is the requirements for gear are definitely very low. The tank has to spend maybe about 10 mil, the Daroker has to spend maybe about 8 mil, 5 mil, something like that. It's really not very expensive at all. The supplies that you actually use is pretty much nothing. Pretty much the only supplies that you actually burn through are the super combats and the range bots. Usually at the end of an inventory, I, as the tank, would have pretty much a full inventory of prayer potions and or super restores, just because they do drop enough that you pretty much aren't really using any prayer. I'm not using any like piety or protect range or like eagle eye. Sorry. I'm not using either of those because I really don't need to, and again, like I'm saying, we're just killing them as fast as they can spawn. So pretty much you don't really, I think Dave might have been flicking piety every once in a while, but overall you don't really even need to use prayer. This is just a relaxing method, and it still is the same, or about the same profit per hour as soloing them. We did this for about 12 hours, and we averaged about 3 mil per hour-ish each. Not just in general, just between both of us, we each got 3 mil, so it'd be technically 6 mil an hour if you're like muling it to one person. But yeah, so pretty much the general reason that this method is so good is the trips can last extremely long. We did like a 7.5 hour trip one day. We've done 5+ hour trips pretty much every time that we come down here and actually want to. It's more relaxing. It generally, the tank can, like I said, you can make a lot of mistakes and you pretty much never run out of supplies. Sometimes it gets a little close to the tank if you make a ton of mistakes in a row like I did in this video, but overall it's really good. It's really relaxing. You don't really have to worry about it. If you're the Daroker, you're pretty much just switching every 10 seconds and just attacking things and making as much money as you'd make, killing Zulrah, so it's pretty awesome. The supplies used, I obviously said, you don't really use any supplies, and the gear requirements are actually very, very low for kind of considering how good of money this is. It's about 3 mil an hour, and you're spending about as much as you would on Zulrah gear for making like the same amount of profit. This is pretty much just an alternative to Zulrah if you kind of want to, hang with a buddy and, just do this. And it's a little bit more RNG based, so that's always fun, when you see a Zenite on the ground. We did 7 hours without a Zenite, so that's another good, sample size. I will link you to Dave's video on the loot from it as well, if you guys want to know, more accurate kind of, profit margins that you would be making. But when we got absolutely no Zenites, we were making about 800k an hour each. That's with no Zenites whatsoever. And Zenites are a majority of your profit, so you can sometimes get lucky and get 3 Zenites in an hour, and that's just bank made, which is kind of the advantage to Zulrah. It is a little bit more fun, it's a little bit more of a gamble, and you can just have hours where you make tons of money, but it is also a consistent profit. You're never going to be losing money at Gorillas, which is pretty cool. So, yeah, that's pretty much all for the guide, guys. I hope that you did enjoy. If you did, feel free to leave a like. make sure that you guys test this out with your friends. It's definitely a really fun thing to do, and I really haven't seen anybody doing it. There's been a few people that have been doing it, but it doesn't seem like a very known method. I know when I heard about it, I didn't really know anything about it. So I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, feel free to leave a like. Make sure to check out the loot video that Dave has posted. I will leave a link in the description. And yeah, have fun. If you have any suggestions for future things that I should be doing on the rebuild, I've actually made a lot of money for this in the next episode for my rebuild. Like I said, we did this for about 12 hours and made some juicy profits. So hope you guys did enjoy, and I will see you later. Peace out.